while. Been a busy past few weeks and I haven't got as many videos out for you guys as I like, but I wanted to go live, give you guys an update and talk about kind of what's new, what's going on, right? I'm still down here in Mexico, staying free, staying out of the hands of Blue ISIS as they parade around. I see photos of them back home where they're trying to lock me away, running around town like giving gifts and candy and stuff to children to try and make them, that's how terrorists try to make themselves look like good guys, right? You see this a lot. It's all about PR. Have you noticed that with your police? They rob and steal and abuse and murder and kill and imprison and enslave, but they give poor kids gifts on Christmas. With your money, of course. Nothing but your money. So yeah. But hey, in other news, Donald Trump, el Führer de Estados Unidos. That's right, Trump banned bump stocks for you guys in the USA this week because freedom, because America, because Second Amendment, because, well, you don't need a gun that shoots that fast, do you? Of course not. Of course not. The government needs to decide for you. How that works, how fast you can shoot a gun, how quick you can pull the trigger, and what things you can own. And oh, by the way, you have 90 days. You have 90 days to turn in your property or destroy it, unless you want to become a felon, of course, which, you know, they need more people in those prisons. But don't worry, it's only an accessory. No one needs a bump stock anyways, right? Proud voters of Donald Trump will tell you that's a silly gun accessory anyways. It compromises the accuracy of your gun, and it's just not necessary, so it's fine. It's fine that Donald Trump banned bump stocks. Now, let's not forget about the fact that Donald Trump and his attorney general doesn't have any authority to ban anything gun-related. Now, let me just pause there. Congress has no authority to restrict guns in any fashion, just like they don't have an authority to control our lands and our properties and almost every other law they're making, and just like they have no authority to restrict immigration. Under the Constitution, it's this little thing we call the highest law in the land. But they do. But it goes further because Congress didn't even bother to make a law, right? Trump wanted to ban bump stocks, so Trump's man that he appointed just wrote up a law. Oh, by the way, the rule to ban bump stocks, and for those of you that don't know, a bump stock goes on like an AR-15, and what it does is it uses the recoil. I've never used one myself. I've seen video of it. It uses the recoil of the gun to kind of bounce it back into the trigger. You can watch a video of this, and it makes it fire kind of like a machine gun, right? Kind of like a fully automatic. It's more of a toy. It's not really a practical thing because it's not very accurate. Machine guns in general aren't very accurate, fully automatic, that is. They're more for effect. So people that get bump stocks just like the sound of spending $20 in 5 seconds on ammo because, well, shooting that many rounds is pretty dang fun. Guns are fun to shoot, okay? So Congress had no authority over this in the first place, but Trump didn't even wait for them to make a fake law. He just had his guy write one. And by the way, the law that makes you a felon, that isn't actually a law because it never passed Congress, but they're still going to enforce it and kill you if you resist. It's 157 pages long. I mean, because why not? You know, we need 157 freaking pages to make sure that you don't shoot a gun too fast. It's all about freedom and protecting people. Never mind that, like, you know, things like, oh, mass shooters use bump stocks. You mean mass shooters? Like the government who terrorizes the entire world? No, they don't. They actually probably use fully automatics. Or mass shooters like the Vegas shooter, where literally all the facts are shady and gray and make no sense. But this is the nation we live in, or rather it's the nation that the USA lives in. I don't live there anymore because I left for a country where, despite the fact that there's corruption and even silly gun laws, yes, and I get mocked by people in the US saying, oh, you live in a country where you can't even own a gun. Interestingly here, the Constitution specifically protects the right to own a gun, and that Constitution is considered relevant here in Mexico. They've made a lot of silly laws, and they've kind of come up with rules, but here's the key difference. Do you want to know the difference between the United States and Mexico? The difference is that in the United States, the government makes up arbitrary laws, many of which have never passed Congress, and then they make those laws felonies. And if you violate that law, even having hurt no one, you'll be taken into a fake court and given a fake trial where you will not be allowed to present evidence on your behalf unless the judge wants you to present it, and the prosecutor, his friend, does not object. And after you're convicted, because 96% of you will be, you will go to a prison even though no one was ever hurt and you simply possessed an item. Our prisons are full of people for felony gun possession. And once you're in that prison, the different prison companies and phone companies and commissary companies and various slave-related organizations will make a profit on you being in that prison. And the people who don't go to prison will submit to the government of force and terror and tyranny because they will fear ending up in that dark 10 by 10 concrete box with you. Which is why all the so-called patriots and 3% are going to readily give up their bump stocks, just like they're giving up their guns, as police are now going door to door in some areas, killing people who will not give up their guns, but they will still keep pretending that as long as they voted for the person, like Donald Trump, he's just biding his time. It's not a big deal. It was okay. When Obama attacked gun rights, it was treason and we had to resist. But now that Trump is doing it, now that he's doing it, well, I mean, I don't agree with him, but Trump's doing so many great things. It's okay, guys. We gotta support Donald Trump, even though he may not understand we have gun rights yet. He may not understand. We gotta support him because he's helping us. He's helping us abuse the immigrants. And don't worry, Donald Trump didn't do it. His attorney general did it. And you know what? This isn't actually a violation of our rights, guys, because a bump stock isn't a gun. So it's okay. It's okay that Trump is banning a plastic object that we attach to our gun. In fact, maybe Trump should ban shoelaces and stuff if they're made of certain materials, or maybe toothbrushes should be mandated. And the government should come inspect our teeth once a week to make sure we're using the government-mandated toothbrush. Because Donald Trump is for the people. Do you realize how ridiculous you sound? America, USA. I'm in America, down here. As all these snowflakes scream for immigrants to be abused and their right to travel and to life and to live and to have property to be violated, as they cheer the soldiers and the politicians who destroyed Honduras and then say the Hondurans should be shot for coming up here and trying to find something else after we destroyed their country, as they cheer the wall of New Berlin that will lock them in, they say, come and take it, while they hand over their gun to the police officer, while they have a "Don't Tread on Me" sign on one side of their truck and a blue line flag on the other. Because that's how we roll out here in Texas, cowboy. Don't mess with us. Well, I mean, like the government and the police and stuff, and like anybody that wears a badge and a uniform, or a politician, or anybody that says they have authority over us. I mean, they can mess with us, but other people shouldn't, you know. This is how stupid and dumbed down and ignorant the society in the USA has become, because we traded patriotism for nationalism. This is why all they can do is sling slurs and name calling and call me traitors and say that I'm the coward because I refused to submit and I walked away. I refused to walk into the gas chamber and I left. And I said, I won't comply with your fake courts. But I'm the coward, and those who worship Donald Trump and submit to the blue, I guess in the world of fuzzy land that is the USA, that's courage. See, we throw around terms, especially the right and the left. I don't align with either one of these. I align with freedom. I align with loving my neighbor, right? So one side makes a slur and the other side makes a slur, and usually the slur applies to both sides in one form or the other. But at the end of the day, the main thing is that your freedom is gone. It's interesting here because as people say, well, Gavin, there's no freedom in Mexico. Gavin, what are you talking about? In fact, the police have to be far more respectful here. The government gets away with far less. The people in Mexico are far more resistant. I could tell you stories. In fact, there's something I just experienced this past weekend that would probably kind of blow you away what happened. But I don't think I better talk about it publicly just yet, but we'll get there. We'll get a video out of that some way. People say, well, Gavin went down to Mexico and he just does what he's told so he doesn't get in trouble. And I laugh and I laugh. But you know what matters is that we resist, that we stand up. As militias and 3%, people running around waving flags and supporting the very man who's taking their guns, the very man who said, take the guns first, due process second. That wasn't Obama, that wasn't Hillary, that was Donald Trump. Fact. This is the man they submit to because as long as their party's in power, see, the problem is the Patriot movement didn't actually care about freedom or justice or the Constitution. They hated all those things. All they wanted was their faction to have the power. Are we realizing that now? Are we seeing that? I know, there's exceptions. Just like there's neighbor-loving people exceptions in the fake church that worships the government instead of Jesus, there's always exceptions. But that's why there is no patriot movement. See, Trump's actually coming and taking your guns and killing you for them. And Obama, he wasn't doing that. But Trump's still the good guy somehow. Don't worry, guys. He's just biding his time. This is how ignorant the USA has become. So you got to think about that. You got to know when to get out. You got to know when to stand. Did you know that militias in Mexico, they call them auto defenses here? In Mexico, despite the fact that, yes, there are gun restrictions, and they're pretty silly, and there's quite a few of them. The difference is they're not filling up the prisons with people who violate them. It's very common for the Mexicans just to laugh at federal laws like gun restrictions down here because they're not going to let the federal government come into their town and round people up. The auto defenses or militias down here in Mexico, they openly carry machine guns on the street when they're protecting their communities. And the federal government doesn't dare come in and arrest them for that, even though those guns are, quote, illegal. I'm not saying you should come and visit Mexico and do that. I'm just saying, understand the difference. Here, there's a militia, there's a 3%, there's activists, and they actually do something. Whereas in the USA, as long as their party's in power, they worship the party and the state. And when their party's not in power, they say, we just need to vote harder. See, that's what's become of the USA. That's why there is no more republic. That's why the republic is gone. The USA is over. What will arise on that land in the future is unknown, but the USA is gone, and that's why I got my family out of there. And you're going to notice this next week with this conversation about bump stocks and things like that, which Congress had no authority to ban. Trump certainly had no authority to ban, and now you have 90 days to turn them in, or you can go to jail. But they're going to say things like, Trump, bump stocks are useless. They're silly. They don't matter. See, if Obama had banned bump stocks, the Patriot movement would be outraged because how dare he impede with our private property? And rightly so. But now that their idol is doing it, well, they're not important. We don't need those. Well, guess what? You better not need any of your guns because they're coming for them. And you're going to hand them right over because you've been worshiping the police and the courts and the blue line and the politicians for a lot longer than you realize. Those of you who are worshiping the state. I know we got some people in this group, I know they're following this channel that are a lot smarter than that, but I'm speaking generally. All right, guys, I'm going to close this out. Bump stocks are illegal. You have 90 days if you live in the USA. I don't submit to the US blue ISIS state. I left. Know when to get your family out because the wall, whether physically, literally, or non-literally, is going up to keep you in. And you got to keep your family safe. You got to stand up for freedom. You're not going to do it by voting harder. All right, so keep resisting, keep standing, keep fighting. Know what real tyranny looks like. Quit getting distracted by faction and by which party is in office, because they've all sold out in the same way. Thank you all in here. Thank you, Ad Ramirez, and all of you. Shout out to all you in the chat room in our live stream today. Thanks for popping in there. Shout out to our channel backers, our Patreon supporters. I actually just did a private live stream with kind of a behind the scenes update for you channel backers and Patreon supporters. And so those of you that are in that group can go check that out. And if you want to back the channel and pitch in a few bucks a month just to help keep the videos going, you can actually do that. Click the join button at the bottom of each video if you want to do that. And I appreciate you guys. Keep standing up, keep resisting. Don't live as a slave. Unfortunately, if you do not want to live as a slave, that's going to probably mean getting out, because almost anywhere in the world has more freedom now than the USA. That's the looming reality. Peace, resist blue ISIS, and love your neighbor.